Hey everybody, what's up? This is 8-Bit Flashback, and I just got done with my latest build. And what I did this time is I took a Nintendo Classic Edition clone, and I put a Raspberry Pi 3 inside of it, but I also did something a little bit different this time. And what I call this is the NesPi Switch Classic Edition. So, let's check this thing out. Alrighty, I want to start off by talking about the software that I have installed on this. This is a Retropie 4.4 image, and this was made by Bud Z71. And I got this over at Arcade Punks, and this is called the All Killer No Filler Edition. And this is a very clean image. It has over 3,000 games, it's got multiple different systems, and almost all of these games are playable on the Raspberry Pi 3. So if you're looking for an image that's got a lot of great games from multiple systems, then you should definitely check this one out. So when I select a system, that brings up my ROM list, and for Nintendo I have over 700 plus games, and most of them have video previews. And for most of your systems, when you're playing a game, you're going to have border overlays on the side like this. So there's just all these little extra features that make this a great image. So I call this the NesPi Switch Classic Edition because I can play this just like the Nintendo Switch. I can play it as a home console or a portable handheld. So now I'm going to go ahead and unplug my NesPi Switch, unplug that HDMI cord and the power cord, and then plug in my HDMI adapter. And I'll explain what this adapter is later on in the video, but basically what this does is it links my Raspberry Pi 3 to my LCD screen. And now I have a completely portable device. So it's got its own power supply, a built-in speaker, and a built-in controller. So now I'm playing with power. Portable power. Wow, that sounded kind of dumb. Oh well. So my built-in controller works good with 8-bit and 16-bit games and most 2D games, but it doesn't work so good with 3D games. Originally, I just intended for this to play Nintendo games only, but I thought it'd be a lot cooler if I could play games from other systems too. So to play all those games that are not compatible with this controller, I do have a couple wireless controller options, and I'll go over those in just a few. And I also made a functional power button with a soft shutdown script. So when I hold the button here for 2 seconds, it starts a soft shutdown sequence and turns off everything. And that same switch is programmed to turn everything back on. And for wireless controllers, I have this wireless keyboard that also doubles as a gaming controller. And I have a Wii U Pro controller, and this controller is very compatible with Retropie and is probably one of my favorite controllers to use. And for a portable 3D gaming controller, I have my iPega Bluetooth controller, and my NesPi Switch can fit right inside of it. And it does look a little bit weird, but it does work. And again, this is only for games that are not compatible with that built-in controller like N64, Dreamcast, PlayStation, etc. But to get this controller to work properly with Retropie, it was kind of a pain. I had to access the Retropie terminal and program it manually. And this is a pretty decent controller, but when I'm playing games like Mario Kart 64, I still prefer to use my Wii U Pro controller. And right now my console is more optimized for 2D gaming, but as you can see here, it does play some 3D games. But it runs really hot, so I gotta get a better cooling system for 3D gaming. So to build this console, this is probably the most important part. This is a Smaraza Raspberry Pi 3 touchscreen 3.5-inch HDMI LCD display. And if you're looking to get one of these, you can find them on Amazon, and I'll make sure to leave a link down below. And they're going for about 29 bucks, and in my opinion, it's well worth it. And here's an up-close look at it. It does have touchscreen capability, but for this video I'm not going to be really covering that. It does require special drivers and certain software to utilize those capabilities. It has an HDMI input, an audio output, and an optional 5-volt power input. And this part right here directly plugs into your Raspberry Pi 3 board, so there's no USB power required. Whatever's powering your Raspberry Pi 3 will also power this LCD. So it plugs directly into your Raspberry Pi 3 board just like this. Then we're going to plug our HDMI adapter that we talked about earlier into the HDMI out on the Raspberry Pi 3 to the HDMI in on the LCD using this adapter right here. So basically this is just a very short HDMI cord. Now I'm going to insert a SD card with the Retropie image into the Raspberry Pi 3 and then plug in a USB controller so we can test this out. So now it's completely functional just like it is, but it's a little ugly because we don't have a case on it yet. And here's a closer look at that LCD without that screen protector on it, and as you can see, it has really nice looking resolution. You can also adjust the brightness of the LCD by pushing this button in the top right corner, and you can go from really dim to really bright. Now it's time to build the case, and as I said earlier, I used a Nintendo Classic Edition clone. And first thing it is, I marked where I needed all my ports to be, and then cut those out with a small Dremel. Then I had to file all those ports and fill in some of the excess holes that I didn't need. Then it was time to cut the bottom of the case for the LCD screen, so I had to make careful measurements, and then cut with a small Dremel. And this plastic on the bottom of the case ended up being pretty thick. It was about 1/8 of an inch thick, and after I was done cutting, I was left with a pretty jagged looking edge, so I had to do quite a bit of sanding, and then some wet sanding to polish it up and make it look a little bit nicer. Now it's time to install the electronics, like this NES controller circuit board, a portable power pack, a functional power button. I also soldered an audio cable that's soldered right to the LCD screen, and that plugs into a small amplified speaker. And this amplified speaker also has its own battery supply located right here. And all this can be recharged right through the micro USB port on the Raspberry Pi 3. And here's the end result, the NesPi Switch Classic Edition. So over the years, I've made quite a few different consoles, but this is actually my first handheld portable device. But I plan on making a lot more portable devices now, especially with this setup. This LCD screen that attaches directly to the Pi 3 is really convenient and compact. So I think this would work great with miniature arcades or other miniature handhelds. I do have some plans to print out a Sega Game Gear case with my 3D printer. Then I'm going to put this setup inside that, and I think that would turn out really cool. And if you guys can think of some other handhelds you'd like to see, let me know in the comments down below. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. If you liked that video, please click that like button. If you want to hear more from me, please subscribe. And have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time.